Let's now bring you all the latest on coronavirus as South Korea has announced that it will be extending its prevention and sanitation guidelines until daily new coronavirus cases drop to single digits. Now, this comes amid fears of a second wave of COVID infections in South Korea, which has been lauded so far for successfully containing the outbreak. South Korean Health Minister said that the government is mulling reimposition of strict social distancing rules. Listen in.
오늘 중대본 회의에서 수도권 지자체들과 협의하여 수도권에 대한 현재의 강화된 방역관리 체계를 연장하고 추가적인 방역 강화 노력을 기울이기로 하였습니다. 다시 사회적 거리로 돌아갈 경우 빚어질 수 있는 학업과 생업의 피해를 최소화하면서 수도권에 집중된 연쇄 감염의 고리를 차단하기 위한 목적입니다.
The announcement came as the country recorded 56 new infections in a day, taking the national tally to over 12,000 COVID cases and 277 deaths. 42 out of the 56 cases were reported in Seoul metropolitan area, which is fast emerging as a virus hotspot. Health authorities said that cases have begun spreading quickly. As South Korea eases its lockdown restrictions, officials have now urged people to wear masks, follow social distancing rules and avoid large gatherings. Let's quickly get in all the latest from Seoul as I'm joined in by our correspondent Bruce Harrison from Seoul as he joins me live on this broadcast. Bruce, a very warm welcome to you. Now, let me begin with the resurgence of COVID-19, which is indeed threatening South Korea's success story. And with this fresh spike in Seoul, one is bound to ask whether officials were too quick to ease social distancing. Do you agree?
Well, at this time, based on the numbers we're seeing, it's a very hairy situation. South Korea has said, the health authorities here have said that anything below 50 daily cases they believe can create an atmosphere for eased social distancing. But the numbers are around 50, above 50. And I think we're creeping closer to a period of a return to strict social distancing because under the eased measures right now, South Koreans are really starting to enjoy life as they had known it before COVID-19. And obviously, contact tracing and testing works well. But with this spread in Seoul metro area, the largest populated area within the country, roughly 25 million people, you can't control it all with contact tracing. You may need to impose those stricter measures like social distancing, closing down some of the public facilities that have reopened, urging small businesses to once again shut down. It's a tough situation.
Right. It's interesting that you mentioned how challenging contact tracing is becoming. Most of the new cases have surfaced in Seoul's metropolitan area where authorities are now struggling with contact tracing. Is this an indication that tracing must get ramped up yet again? Also, why is contact tracing more challenging this time than it was in the initial phase of the outbreak?
Health authorities, Agangsha, say it's more difficult now because we've gotten past that initial outbreak. We saw the number of cases fall to even zero on a couple of days. I believe that was in April. So the public has really kind of let their guard down. That's why they say it's more difficult. People are just getting on with their lives, but it may be too soon. And they're attributing that to more of the community spread we're seeing, where people were very cautious after that initial outbreak in the country's southeast. Will they ramp up contact tracing once again? Definitely. I mean, right now, if you want to open as a bar, a nightclub, a karaoke, the government says that's your own risk, but what you have to do is you have to collect the contact information of your customers through a digital QR code system. People have to scan in now so they can trace them. The government's taking it very seriously, but like I said, this is in the community and it's spreading much more quickly than it was previously in Seoul because the public's out and about.
Certainly, it's spreading much faster this time. Now, how is South Korea ensuring that a fresh spike of cases do not overwhelm the country's hospital system? And how is technology, or what is being called the K quarantine, contributing to aid efforts?
Well, when it comes to, I'm sorry, could you repeat that last bit?
How is
contributing to efforts regarding the quarantine?
Right. How is technology contributing in, providing better aid efforts?
Of course. Well, it plays off just what I had said. in regards to the government using technology to collect customers' information at high-risk venues. South Korea also has laws regarding data that were changed in 2015 after the MERS outbreak that allows them quite broad sweeping measures to collect credit card information, CCTV information to try and, better trace people to prevent the spread of COVID-19. All that technology wrapped in together, has definitely helped. But once again, when it comes to community spread, locking down, or not necessarily locking down, but social distancing, stricter social distancing, South Korea health authorities are starting to say may be the only way unless we want to live with these continued cluster infections.
But, I'm just a bit curious to know why not a lockdown, because as far as fresh cases are concerned, be it the ones emerging from the nightclub cluster or the e-commerce warehouse or even door-to-door sellers of a health product provider, these are indications that social distancing norms weren't adequately followed. So is another stringent lockdown the only ideal option left for South Korea?
Not a full lockdown yet. I mean, they're taking it day by day, but they're very worried about these numbers spreading, especially in the Seoul metro area. They didn't lock down in the first place. They said it wasn't going to help, frankly, because the virus was already here, and they believed a contact tracing testing program without disrupting society entirely would be the best way to approach this. And they saw success for a while. But the government may be kind of scratching its head a bit and thinking, did we do enough? Because when you look at that cluster from the nightclubs in early May, a lot of people have come back and said, Seoul, they could have left things open. They could have encouraged people to be cautious. But what they should have done is they should have shut down nightclubs. That's simply an area you can't control the spread of a virus, and you can't enforce social distancing in a place with booming music, booze, dancing. It's just very difficult. The government, I think, is probably looking back on that and saying, what could we have done more? But there's still no talk of a full lockdown, closing borders to cities, things like we saw in China, other cities in the West as well, where they really told people to stay home. Seoul wants to avoid that because the economy is struggling deeply here, and a lot of small businesses may never reopen if they close.
That's absolutely very tragic. But for now, maybe South Korea might consider ample contact tracing and, of course, stricter social distancing. For now, thank you so much, Bruce, for bringing us all those details.